Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Mr. Eric Price. But before we bring up Eric to the stage, I want to thank one of our amazing sponsors, the Help for Men Brotherhood. Guys, if you're struggling in your marriage, going through a divorce, or just feeling stuck in life, listen up. There's an incredible community called the Help for Men Brotherhood, created by my great friend, Mr. Ralph Brewer. It's a private group of men from all over the world who are rebuilding their confidence, their relationships, and their sense of purpose. Members get access to weekly live meetings, private discussion forums, one-on-one coaching, free books and courses, and over 1,000 hours of powerful members-only audio content. And every year, they all come together in person at BroFest, a 2-day conference filled with workshops, brotherhood, and real connection. If you've been trying to do it all on your own, stop. You don't have to. Go to helpformen.com/join. That's helpformen.com/join and start rebuilding today. And now, here he is. Eric, how you doing there, Eric?
I'm good, brother, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be
No,
on.
no doubt, my friend. We got connected by a gentleman we both know very well, Coach Rob Jackson. It's funny, man. I only played 2 years of organized basketball, my 12 and under with Coach Jackson, and I played 1 year of 8th grade at St. John's on the 8th grade middle school team. Other than that, man, it was all football from freshman year of
Gotcha.
high school all the way to the National Football League. But I'm still very close to Coach Jackson. He said, man, meet my guy Eric. Now here we are. So Eric, it's going to be great. But first question,
Gotcha.
Eric, what does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
To me, it means discovering like your own algorithm. To me, an algorithm is just putting in the work that you put in. So just the work that you put in basically kind of would give you that, understanding of what that should look like. Every person's definition of being authentic won't be the same. And I think that that's because of where they lie their morals and everything. So for me, I think being authentic is just being a replica of yourself and what you stand for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your algorithm. It is who you are, it is what you stand for. I love the saying, right, Eric? It's when your
Hmm.
internal values match
Hmm.
your external actions. Your internal values match
Hmm.
your external actions. This is fantastic stuff, man.
Perfect.
So,
Yep.
Eric, please tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey, and the work
Mhm.
you're doing right now to help others.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Washington D.C. area. Like you said previously, we got kind of connected through Rob Jackson. Started playing basketball. I grew up in a rough inner city neighborhood called known as Sursum Corda. It was a really really rough area at the time. Um, so I just kind of started playing sports very early. I kind of watched my older brother and some of the older guys just kind of coming through the elite ranks of the basketball world. So my first encounter was I did a lot of observing. So after that, when I was able to play, just a little backstory, I played Boys and Girls Club basketball, and that started at the age of 10. So if you were 8 years old or younger, you couldn't play on a 10 and under team until you at least reached the age of 9. So I was always 2 years younger than my brother. So when I did begin to play, I quickly became, very good at basketball from the previous observing of the, former players before me. Like I said, Sursum Corda was a nesting pool of great athletes, and also it had its share of troubled people around the community as well. So very early I knew that I had to perfect my craft very early, in order for me to be able to try to make it out of a situation like that. So it began as early as about 7 to 8 years old, where I developed a deep passion for not only basketball but to survive from the streets.
Eric, you got into basketball. Tell us more
Hmm.
about your journey. So, did you play? Where'd you go to high school? Did you play
Hmm.
collegiately? What then took you from sports to what you're doing now in the corporate world or in the adult world?
Gotcha. Yeah. So, like I said, I grew up in the Sursum Corda area. It's so ironic because on the corner sits a prestigious high school, Gonzaga, which is an
Oh
all
yeah.
boys high
Oh
school.
yeah.
So I found that the irony of that was very mind boggling for me. So I attended Gonzaga as a ninth grader. Coming in my freshman year, I attended Gonzaga. Before then, I went to one of like the channel schools from the middle schools, and that was called Holy Trinity. Um, Holy Trinity School, which was in Georgetown. So it was kind of like a gateway into Gonzaga. So I started out at Gonzaga. I ended up moving a few places. I went to Montrose Christian Academy. I went to Blair Academy to play with Luol Deng and Charlie Villanueva. And then my senior year, I finished up at a school called Coastal Christian, which is in Virginia Beach. So I moved around a little bit, partly because of AAU and the turmoil that they had. Like back then, there was a big difference between AAU coaches and high school coaches. So it was kind of like a struggle there. Fast forward, I went to college. I signed a national letter of intent for Wake Forest. And if you remember at the time, Coach Skip Prosser was the head coach then. During that summer, so that transition from my senior year to my freshman year in college, Skip Prosser unfortunately passed away. So I wasn't able to, continue on with that freshman year at Wake Forest. So I ended up going the JUCO route. And then I went to a JUCO called Chipola College, which is in Marianna, Florida. After my tenure with Chipola College, I attempted to, go overseas for a little while, but I ended up getting hurt and tore my meniscus. Once I tore my meniscus, I immediately came back and just began my tenure with education. So currently, I'm an educator. I teach 10th and 11th grade math and science. So that's kind of like where we are now. So that's kind of like my basketball journey.
Awesome, man. And so
Mhm.
Coach Jackson was very quick to talk about the work you're doing. He's sitting in a couple other
Mhm.
podcasts you were on. So he
Mhm.
was telling you you're working on something really important, and I love that. Can you
Mhm.
share with our global audience, Eric? You have a
Mhm.
great basketball career. Collegiate went overseas. You're now an educator. But Coach
Mhm.
Jackson was really talking more specifically about you have a couple of different projects that you're working on.
Mhm.
Share that with our global audience.
Yeah, so that's probably one of my most proudest accomplishments. Obviously, I love to educate and empower youth, but I think the number one thing for me is that I wrote a best-selling book about a few years back. It's called Full Court Press: A Young Basketball Prodigy's Journey, and it's just a book, kind of like an autobiography type of style, but it kind of documents my elite rankings going through the basketball world. So it's just a story of resilience. A lot of people get it confused with like a story of success. My story isn't really about being successful, it's about being resilient. So there's going to come a time in your life when you have to face adversity, and that resilience is going to have to kick in. So no matter where you're from, no matter what walk of life. So I think writing that book definitely was probably one of my biggest accomplishments for sure.
Let's dive deep into that, right,
Mhm.
Eric? Your book, A
Mhm.
Story of Resilience. So to me, resilience,
Mhm.
right, Eric, is bouncing back
Yeah.
when life knocks you down. I tell people life is going to knock you down. I don't care who you are. You could be the late, great Kobe Bryant. You could be Michael Jordan. You could be LeBron.
Hmm.
You could be Jeff Bezos. I don't care who you are. Life is going to
Hmm.
knock us down because life is going to
For sure.
test us. It's going to make things more challenging, health, family, friends, loss, all kinds of stuff. So I'm a big believer if you want to
Hmm.
be successful in life, you have to learn how to be
Hmm.
resilient. Because, Eric, one of my
Hmm.
favorite animals is the bison. So I went to Howard University. So I'm from Northeast D, probably about 10 minutes away from the Minnesota Street Projects. Went there, went to St.
Okay.
John's over in Northwest, and then got to
Hmm.
Howard late nights when Howard back then was in the ghetto, and Howard was not a was not a great place to go to school. It was a great school, but not a
Hmm.
great area. It's much better today. But my point is
Gotcha.
I've gone a lot ups and downs, right? And so what I'm getting at, right,
Hmm.
Eric, is that the bison is the only animal that charges directly into the eye of the storm. The only one. Bison
Mm.
knows the fastest way out of the storm is through a storm. Eric,
Sure,
what are
Storm. Yep.
some takeaways? What are some things that people can expect to gain from reading not your story of success, but your story of resilience?
Great question. I think our definition, first of all, aligns. To me, resilience is just the ability to bounce back from a negative situation that has occurred in your life. And like you said, we'll all go through it. So no matter, to me, success is never ending. So that's another reason why I wanted to write that book. Because a lot of people were just wondering, like, hey, what's Eric Price doing? Where is he? So I was hearing a lot of false narratives, a lot of things that, that weren't necessarily positive. So to me, I just wanted to show not only my story of resilience, but also offer that educational piece. I was actually in a bar one day with my friends, and it was the first time I ever heard it. And there was a group of Spanish men, and they were making jokes. And he said, "Listen, if you want to hide something from a black person, you put it in a book." So I took that very personal that day. I still remember it very vividly. Um, Education is something has been something that's always been dear to me. Even when I was playing basketball, I kind of knew in the back of my mind, like, listen, you're not from the best of the best neighborhood, so you're not going to be afforded the same education. You're not going to be afforded the same food. You're not going to be afforded the same, life things that other people are kind of afforded. So I knew that kind of very early. So once I did discover that, I made sure that education was a big part of my life, and now that it still is. As far as the book, um, like I said, it's not really a success story. It's a story of resilience. So to me, everyone can relate to it. So if you're a parent of playing in sports, if you're a corporate 9 to 5 worker, if you're just a struggling mom and dad just trying to figure out how to raise your children best, I think that it can kind of touch and hit on every one of those points. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I definitely wrote the book.
You know, Eric, I love that last segment, especially when you talk about your
Mm-hmm.
parent trying to raise children. So I am
Mm-hmm.
divorced. I filed for divorce about 4 years ago. It got finalized about 3 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm a single dad. I have a 22-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old daughter, and my
Mm-hmm.
11-year-old is almost 12. And I'll tell you right now, my friend, it is
Mm-hmm.
very challenging. It is
Mm-hmm.
very difficult to raise daughters as a single dad, from dealing with
Mm-hmm.
periods to clothes
Mm-hmm.
to situations to life,
For
like
sure.
all,
Yep.
and like it's not easy. And I never expected, planned to be a single dad. That was never in my cards when I got married. I did not, I planned to get married and be married for life. So when that happened, it was
Mhm,
extremely challenging. It was extremely difficult. And I tell people, you have to learn how to pivot. You have to learn how to make
mhm,
adjustments. And I love that your book focuses on that, because this is something, right, Eric, that people
mhm,
need. So I have there's a speaking job that I'm scheduled to do. It was supposed to happen this year, but it's been postponed till next year. It's called
mhm,
The Roots. It's about the importance of education for young
mhm,
Black men. That was the
mhm,
whole thing with the conference. It's going to be in Atlanta. So excited.
mhm,
Like, it's delayed, but it's fine. But I love the
mhm,
theme of it's about education for young Black men, because a lot of times growing up in inner city schools and
mhm,
challenges, some young Black men don't get the same opportunities when it comes to education, reading,
mhm,
things of that nature. So I really am excited about this conference and what it's about when it comes to fruition. So my question is, right, Eric, what
gotcha.
is the biggest thing that you love about being an educator? What is it that you truly enjoy? So there's a saying, right? Purpose
Mhm,
starts your journey. Passion lights your
mhm,
way. I know your
mm,
purpose behind being an educator. What's the passion, right, Eric, that
mhm.
continuously lights your way every single day?
Great question, man. I never really thought about it, but now that I do, um, I'm a true believer in camaraderie. So, I believe that camaraderie is like the secret language of ill intent. I tell my kids that all the time. So let's say we have a kid that's misbehaving in class, And another kid that is observing that behavior, instead of that kid coming to me and trying to get the other kid in trouble, that's where that camaraderie piece comes in. Hey, listen, I see that you're off task. Mr. Price is talking about some good information. You're going to miss it. So I like those teachable moments. Those are like full circle moments for me. But I always have believed that camaraderie is a secret language of ill intent. So no matter who's trying to have ill intent around you, that educational piece can actually save you, even if you don't even know that they're, trying to display ill intent. So I think that's the number one piece, is just being able to like be into classrooms and having those aha moments. I tell kids all the time that math is a language, just like reading. If you learn how to speak math, you'll be good at it. So just like some of those small nuances and just seeing those aha moments that the kids have is very, very rewarding for me. I remember having them myself. So it definitely takes me back.
So Eric, I just got through interviewing not that long ago
Hmm.
Robin Curto, who used to work for CNN in South Africa. She had the
Okay.
pleasure of interviewing and knowing intimately Nelson Mandela. And she
Mm,
said that Nelson Mandela said the biggest thing that he focused on when it came to reuniting South Africa was finding
hmm
that thread that united everyone. And I love
mm.
what you said about how math is a language. It
Oh,
sure
yeah.
because I have a degree, Eric, in finance. You didn't know
Got
that.
you.
I have a degree in finance from Howard University. I was
Got
set
you.
to work on Wall Street before
Mm.
the National Football League said you're really a good athlete, and I was drafted. Eric, the first, and I'm still the
Got you.
only offensive lineman ever drafted from Howard University to the National Football League. Still
Mm.
the
That's
only one.
awesome.
And so, but I really take seriously the
Hmm.
whole thing of, you know, just education
Hmm.
and doing what you need to do at a true high level. I
Hmm.
truly am a big believer and a big proponent. So, Eric, kudos to
For sure.
you. Fantastic work.
Hmm.
Your book is awesome. Love that you're educating
Hmm.
people. Love how you said math is a language because it totally is. It
For sure.
absolutely is. And people have to remember at the end of the day, you have to create for yourself the best opportunity for yourself. And
Hmm.
education is the number one thing. Like I tell kids all the time,
Hmm.
don't try to be LeBron James, right? When he was playing for the
Hmm.
Cavs, right? Be
Yep.
be a Dan Gilbert who owns the Cavs, right? Don't be Tom Brady, be Robert Kraft. Be that owner that has the ability to sign that athlete's check because that
For
owner
sure.
put the education first. Again, nothing wrong with
Sure
being an
did.
athlete, but you want to focus on education. Like what I was saying, Eric, I
Hmm.
tell young people if you're blessed to be Tom Brady, who is the
Hmm.
GOAT, right?
Hmm.
You at some point become an ex athlete.
For
It's
sure.
not going to last forever,
Yeah.
but education can last forever. Eric, how
Hmm.
can our global audience get in touch with you if they'd like to buy your book or just hear about some of your messages or
Uh-huh.
resilience? How can our global audience connect with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm under Eric Price. It kind of gives you a biopsy of, all of the current things that I have going on. As far as being able to purchase the book, it is available wherever books are sold. Usually people go to Amazon. There's an audio book as well for people that, are audio learners. But there's hard copies and audio books available on Amazon.
Got it. Love it.
Mhm.
Ladies and gentlemen, please support Eric. Go and buy his book and just understand and get to learn from his stories of resilience. But that, because that is what it's all about. Life is
Mhm.
going to challenge us, and we
For
need to
sure. Yeah.
have people like Eric that are teaching us how to navigate those challenges and be successful. And by the way, Coach Jackson told me to tell you hello. And
Okay.
so,
Hey, coach.
Eric, great, great, great interview. And we want to thank
Yes, sir.
one of our amazing sponsors, Mr. Ralph Brewer and the Help for Men Brotherhood. And the authentic tip of this great interview one of my favorite quotes that I say a lot, I have a lot of great quotes. It's one of my favorites. Smooth seas never made skilled sailors. Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Yep.
Challenge in life, but you learn about yourself when you overcome the obstacles, the hardship, and the challenges along the way. So if you're struggling there, reach out to Eric, pick up his book, get on audio, and get moving. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
You were great, man. Good